Hello. How's everybody doing today? Just getting set up here. Gonna make sure, let's see. Let's see if anybody's on right now. And we're gonna go over, remember, today's the last day. Today's the last day too. Everybody's on right now. And we're gonna go over, got a little echo. All right, last day of review. And then remember, tomorrow and let's say hi. Tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow and Friday is the final. Okay, so see what, whether if you're watching now, great, join the conversation. If you're not watching, Mr. Burns said he'd be here also. All right, so we're all set. All right, so take a look. We had a review. We had a review of a little bit of everything here. A little bit of everything that's going to be on the final. We have, let's switch over here. We got, from yesterday, the answers are posted already, but we got little parabolas. We got some parabola information from yesterday. We have, a little data from maybe Unit 1. I think we, 5-number summary, that kind of stuff. We have linear and exponential examples. And finally, inverse functions and stuff like that. So let's go through these one at a time. This is all posted on Schoology, and so you should try it. Now remember, you got to submit these. These will be your last grades, and then the final, don't forget about the final. The final is 15% of your grade. Okay, so if you don't do it, that's 15. You're starting with an 85. Okay, so let's talk about quadratic. Vertex. What was the formula for the vertex? Now remember, you can use any notes you want. So have your notes ready to go. You could even use these. The vertex had a formula. The x part of the vertex is minus b over 2a. There's the vertex equation. Okay, so in this case, a is 1, b is 8, c is 12. You see that? So the vertex is minus 8 over 2 times 1. So the x value of the vertex is minus 4. Let's figure out, I kind of got lost there. Let's figure out what the y value is. What do you do with the minus 4? You go up here and you plug it in. To get the y, you always do the same thing. F of negative 4, I'm plugging in negative 4. I got negative 4. Don't forget the parentheses when you use your calculator. 8 times negative 4 plus 12. All right, let's see what we got here. Negative 4, we got 16 minus 32 plus 12. And so minus 4 also. So the vertex is negative 4 comma negative 4. I'm going to put a little point at negative 4 comma negative 4. There's our first point. Now, the best thing to do is just work from negative 4. Okay, work this way. You see, go this way. We got negative 5, negative 6. We got negative 3, negative 2. Let's pick the easier numbers, negative 3. Now, why am I picking the negative 3? Well, f of negative 3, negative 3 squared, plus 8 times negative 3 plus 12. Let's see what happens here. 9 minus 24 plus 12. We get negative 3. Well, that's kind of nice. Now, what do I know? Remember, what do we know about a parabola? If that's negative 3, that's negative 3. Remember that? And then f of negative 2, we'll do the same thing. Negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 12. 4 minus 16 plus 12. Oh, we get 0 there. And then, again, same argument, 0 there. So let's see, we got negative 3 on both sides. And then we go to 0 on both sides. So the parabola looks like, try to make as best you can. Don't forget the arrows on the end of it. How's that look there? We feeling okay? So let's answer the questions now. Is this a max or min? It's a min. Where's the symmetry? Let me change color pens here. Remember, the symmetry is down the middle. The left side looks like the right side. There's the symmetry. And it's going through always through that point. X equals negative 4. The y-intercepts, I wonder where this is going to cross the y-axis. Okay. How do I find the y-intercepts? Remember, and the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, x is 0. I don't have anywhere x is 0. I could keep going. I keep going down there, or I could just plug in 0, or we could remember another rule. The y-intercept is always at C. That's where the y-intercept is. So C is 12. The y-intercept is going to be 0, 12. The x-intercept is where y is 0. Oh, look, there's 2 times, which makes sense. 2 times when y is 0, and that is -6 and -2. All right, there's a good review of quadratics. Use this paper, use the one from last week. You should be okay on the quadratic part of the final. Remember, ask a question, send Mr. Byrne or myself a question if something's bothering you. All right, let's do some data. Okay, and for data, remember, you should have your calculator or the one we posted online also. Okay, for data, you don't want to do this by hand. Okay, now, for us, these are all lined up. I could do it by hand if I wanted to, but isn't it easier just to go Stat, Edit. Let me get that glare off there. Remember, if you have other information, go move up to list 1, hit Enter, or Clear. Clear those lists out. And now I'm just going to type it in. 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, 13, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 15, and 18. Whew. Entered all that data in there. Okay. Now, what's the mode? Mode. Okay. Well, how do you find mode? Mode means the most. Which one had the most? Let's see. If we made a little tick marks, a little histogram, 14 is the mode. The range. What's the range? The range is from 10 to 18. So what do we say? The range is 8. What's the median and the mean? Maybe I'm going to use my calculator for that. Okay. Go back to the home screen. Let's clear all that old stuff out. Go back to the home screen. And then you go Stat, Calculate, one variable statistics. And let's look for that X bar. See that very first one? Remember, that's the symbol for mean, X bar. The mean is 13. The median should say median here, right there, MED, median 13.5. And while we're at it, let's make sure we understand what each one of these are. Remember the 5-number summary right here. The 5-number summary is min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Remember, median is really Q2. So we got 10, 11.5, 13.5, 14, and 18 is the max. Does that make sense? Everybody remember the 5-number summary? That's going to be there tomorrow. Use the following 5 numbers to answer these questions. Let's see. All right, what's the range? Remember, range is max minus min. And so the range is 104 minus 12. The range is 92. Interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. And the same thing, 75 minus 37. And what do we got there? 38 is the interquartile range. Okay, just a little comparison between those. All right, how about this shape? Let's describe shape. Remember, we had a bunch of words. We had symmetric. So symmetric is when it's kind of the peak is in the middle. But then when the most of the data is on the right and not much data is on the left, we call that skewed. Now remember, where the tail is, where it's not, this is skewed left. Skewed left because most of the stuff is to the left side. Everybody see that? And let's just answer these questions. Which measure of center is most appropriate to use and why? Now remember, when it's symmetric, mean and standard deviation is good. But when it's not symmetric, median and IQR is good. IQR is good. Because remember, mean is when it's all together, when it's nice and symmetric. That's why we look at the shape of the graph. We look at the shape of the graph to see how it is. Hey, buddy, look who's here. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hey, we're working on some data, finding the averages and stuff like that. Well, they're listening on the other side.
Yeah.
All right, let me finish this and we'll come upside. Say bye to everybody. Hey, shouldn't you guys be going to school yourself?
Maybe later.
Okay, when I come up, we're going to go to school. Huh, they got to do school too. All right, how do we feel on that? How do we feel on just reviewing some of those concepts? Use your notes, use these when you're taking your final. Okay? Now, let's review our, and the key is not a lot of calculation in the final, but what do these mean? All right, this is a line. Okay, so let's say the price in dollars, X months. So 100 is the y-intercept, right? So this is the y-intercept is the price at the 0 month. What do we mean by the 0 month? Price at the beginning. You see what I mean? The y-intercept is what happens at the start, at the 0 month. In this case, months. The price at the 0 month. So at the beginning, this product is $100. Okay. Now what happens? Let's see. After X months. Now 2 is the slope. Now check your slope. Remember, slope is change in y. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So change is y. Which one's the y? The y is the product. So this is the product, the price. We said product price and months. So we say per with the line. So what is 2? The change in price per month. Remember, you always say change. That's what slope is, a rate of change. Change in price per month. That's linear. Now let's do the exact same thing with exponential. Okay, again, let's just review. This is the change. And we had 2 different types of changes. This is the growth. Whereas the 5 is the y-intercept. Okay, so 5 is, again, same thing, the price at the beginning. The y-intercept is always the price at time equals 0, at 0 months. Okay, now what does the 2 mean? Now that's a little tougher. 2 is growth. The growth, okay, and we should say, since it's exponential, the percentage growth. Remember, 1 is the border, not 0 like slope. If it's bigger than 1, it's growth. If it's less than 1, it's decay. So we look at how much bigger than 1. 2 is 100% bigger than 1, so it's 100% growth. Whereas if it was like 1.5, that's 50% growth. If it was like 1.1, that's 10% growth. You see, how much from 1? Or going the other way as well. If it's 90, that's 10% decay. You see what I mean? Because it's going the other way. So it's always from 1. How far from 1? That's very similar to the axis of symmetry on this one. How far are you away? Yeah, this says -6, but I'm only 2 away from that. You see what I mean? And the 0 is 4 away from that, even though it says 0. So how far away from 1 you're at. That's how you got to think of it. So let's answer some questions. When will the price of the product in number 7 and number 8 be the same? Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, and we can make a table if we wanted to. We could use our calculator if we wanted to. Let's see how we do that. I want to see where 100 plus 2x is the same as 2 to the x. So let's make a little table. At 0, this is 100. And then it goes up by 2 because that's the growth. 104, 106. You see what I mean? Whereas this one, this at 0, it's 5, but then it's times 2. Remember, this is plus, this is times. 10, 20, 40, Gotta keep going. 108, 110, 40, 80, and here comes 160. So somewhere around here, they're the same. Because this, see how small, but all of a sudden it's bigger. So somewhere, let's see, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So somewhere between 4 and 5, they're going to be the same. And what is that same amount? So what we could do, guess and check if you wanted to. Nothing wrong with that. Or we could use the calculator. Okay, but I'm thinking let's try 4.5. Let's see what happens. If I go 100 plus 2 times 4.5, I get 109. If I go 5 times 2 to the 4.5, I get 113. A little lower, right? That's a little lower. We're trying to see where they're matching. Let's try 4.4. 100 plus 2 times 4.4. All right, 108.8. And then we'll go 5 times 2 to the 4.4. And we got 105. Ooh, see, it's too small. You see, so somewhere we're getting really close. This is around the 10 decimal places, so we like 4.4 is the closest. 4.5 is a little too much, so the closest is around 4.4. I'd also accept 4.5 because you did a pretty good job there. Now, we could do it exactly on the calculator. Remember how we did on the calculator? We go y equals, if you have your calculator, and then you type them in. 100 plus 2x is the first one. And the other one is 5 times 2 to the x. And now don't hit graph. We're going from 0. We said it somewhere on 4. So I'll go 0 to 7. And then 0 to, now remember, it was over 100. So I'll go 120. Let's see what happens. There's the line. There is the exponent growth right there. You see? They're crossing right there. And where was that? Second calc. Find the intersect. Get as close as you can. Hit enter, enter, enter. And it's 4.44479. So we were pretty close. You see that? And what will the price be? 108.88. Repeating. Does that make sense? And let's see what we got here on the end. If you have a quantity that is exponential, what's the output value when the input is increased by 1 by 2? Now remember, if the base is 10, a times 10 to the x. Here's what the point they're trying to make here. If I go by 1, it's 10a. But if I put a 2 there, it's 100a. Remember, it's times 10 each time. Okay, so it doesn't add 10, it multiplies by 10. So it's 10 times. If the output value changes, if you go up from 1 to 2, it's times 10. That's the key. That's the key of exponentials. It's always multiplying. And that's going to be on the final. All right, let's finish it off. Here we got a nice little chart. Let's remember how the chart works. Let's put 0, 3. Let's put what we got here. 1, 6. So now you look. How did I get from 3 to 6? There's the key, the slope. Now it's not y2 minus y1 like lines are. It's times 2. So let's times 2, times 2, times 2. But going the other way, divide by 2. Divide by 2. Use your calculator. You get decimals. This is 1.5, and this is 0.75 if you're dividing by 2. So what's the equation? Now that we figured out it's times 2, remember the y equals the y-intercept, always the y-intercept. And then since we figured out it's times 2, we say 2 to the x. Is this a function? Now, remember the rules. If it's a function, vertical line test is a function. Vertical line test. Is it 1-to-1? Horizontal line test. Remember that? A parabola, let's look at the first page. A parabola is a function. Where's my first page? A parabola is a function because of the vertical line test, but it's not 1-to-1 because of the horizontal line test. If I cross more than 1 point, not 1-to-1. Everybody see that? Okay, so now let's use the inverse table. What was the inverse table? Remember, the x's and y's switch. This should be right there in your notes in front of you when you're taking the test. The x and y switch. So all I do is take what's in the x and write it in the y now. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I write the other way. I go either I'll do 3/4 or 0.75. Just get these fractions in here. 3/2 or 1.5. And then now it starts getting big. 3, 6, 12, 24, 48. Okay, so how do we read these tables? Remember, x is in the parentheses, y is the one not in parentheses. That's why we have function notation. You got to look at the right function. Look at here. F of 1. So I look at 1. F of 1 is 6. F inverse. I look at F inverse graph. F inverse of 3 is 0. You see, it just tells you which function to look at. F of 2. F of 2 is 12. F inverse of 6 is 1. Now we're going the other way. Here's the y. So it says look at the graph of f, find a y of 3. So I looked at the graph of x, find a y of 3, I get 0. Look at the graph of f inverse. Find a y of 2 is 12. Look at the graph of regular function. Okay, find a y of 12 is 2. Look at the inverse graph, that's -1, and I get 1.5 or 3/2. You see, all I got to do, that's why we have function notation. So it tells us which graph to look at. Now remember, as you're watching this later, you can always pause the video and try them before I do them. Mr. Byrne already posted the answers up there. Okay, so you can look at your answers. Now tomorrow, okay, the test is posted. On Friday, we'll meet again. Okay, and we'll just see if anybody has any questions. Maybe we'll set up a Zoom meet on Friday. I'll talk to Mr. Byrne and when we could set up a Zoom meet on Friday. And then we could answer any questions you have about the final. You could join us. And I'll see what time we could do it, maybe in the morning. And then you have to turn them in. That'll be your grade, and we'll post grades. And remember, next week, the last day is the 13th. We'll clean things up. We'll keep on the 12th and 13th of next week. We'll make sure everything's there. No finals. Lucky you guys. And we'll be good. All right, so send me an email. Send Mr. Byrne an email if you have a question on this. And good luck on the final. And we'll be on Friday sometime just to make sure everything's okay. All right? All right, have a good day, everybody.